You're with Julian on the brown note, trying to avoid the sun, and a review of Blackbox Life Recorder 21F in a Room F760 EP by Aphex Twin, also known as Richard D. James, and numerous other monikers, and the, I would say, greatest electronic music artist of all time, whose glorious heyday redefined several tranches of what electronic music could do, from his selected ambient series to the likes of the Richard D. James album and tracks like Window Licker. And I've got a folder on my laptop with his music from the 90s, which taps out at something like 550 tracks. And then he went into a famous hiatus after the Music album wasn't as successful with critics as his previous releases, and he just sort of disappeared. And we now know that he was recording music and releasing music in a variety of forms, and came back with the Cyro LP in 2013 after a very long hiatus between official releases, and it was magnificent. And since then he's put out EPs, so that's 10 years of EPs, and on the surface it doesn't seem like a lot. Underneath, he has pumped out a lot of music that he's like dumped on SoundCloud and showcased. Even now he's playing live more, which is fascinating. And some of those EPs, like the Cheater EP, were fantastic, and they usually occupied a space. So it would be, I'm going to make an EP using this one piece of equipment, or I'm going to use make an EP where I'm using robots to do the programming of the drums or the playing of the drums. And they all had a reason to be. I don't think this one does. It is one of his slightest releases, and I think we're in the ballpark of clamouring for a little bit more substantially from him. But there are hundreds of tracks that he's released in various ways online. This is just an official release. So maybe he's gearing up to something. He's just been playing some prominent live gigs. It's a very post-Cyro Aphex Twin sound, and it's one of the more pleasant X-Tal sort of Aphex Twin sonically. It's not barbaric or challenging like any of his music is. He can be amongst the most abrasive producers, but it's very soothing. He does the whole skipping beat thing and modulating tracks better than anyone. And the first track is does get into sort of 90s breakbeats, but most of this EP is at the least challenging end of the spectrum. Occasionally we get some nice sort of workouts with cowbells and more urgent drums and wonkier synths, even at times resembling that immortal Richard D. James album, which was the most abstracted and fragmented collection and collage of beats and synth melodies probably ever produced. And he remains unrivaled, I think, as a mixer and producer. And as far as personality goes, he has the most imprinted personality on music that he produces. You can tell that it's him from the way a drum program works, or a synth pattern works, or sounds. And he's a consummate on that. It's just, it doesn't have the reason to exist at the moment, unless something is happening in the future, that the other EPs did, where they were focusing on one piece of equipment or getting robots to play the drums or stuff like that, that really had a sense of meaning. It's also really short. So probably, I don't know if it's 20 minutes, it's probably about 16 minutes, if that. So it's a short release, and it's a very slight release, and given that we're kind of hankering for a little bit more, I would say a 7 out of 10 for Blackbox Life Recorder, which is perfectly great, but when you're the greatest, we want more.